You're watching Haunted New Orleans.
Okay, we went to Haswood Cemetery, and I went to this certain graveyard. Somebody told me there was an open tomb in the back, and I just wanted to go see. Our first night out there, I brought my sister and her boyfriend and two of my friends with us.
And we were curious. I mean, that's why we wanted to go there, because we never heard any stories about any other cemeteries, and we wanted to have proof that there was something out there, because we always watched ghost stories on TV, and we never found out anything. So we wound up going to this graveyard because we heard stuff from a friend of the family that there's some stuff out there.
And we walked around for a while and sat in certain spots, and we took pictures of each other where we were sitting to see when we get home if there was anything in it.
We got like orbs all around the graveyard. We also went by the left side of the graveyard and took pictures out there, and we got on the film, it's a bunch of smoke in front of the camera, and in the background you can see what looks like a cowboy standing up, which there's nothing out there to actually stand up out there. The graves are only a foot, 2 foot high. So this was standing up about the height of a person.
There was a certain spot in the graveyard that was kind of drew me to it. It was like I felt really, really comfortable, and it was like it was drawing me towards it. It was a small child's grave. And I just put the recorder there and the video camera. Try to see if I can catch anything on tape or recording. And I was so interested in finding out, if there is or isn't anything, I literally asked if anything was out there to, I allowed them to come home with me.
We got enough proof to prove to us that there was something, but whenever we left, my brother happened to mention, he said, we kind of have proof that there's something out there, but there's always a scientific explanation. If there's something out there, follow us home. If you want to come home with us, come on home.
And that's the mistake I made. Because after I got home, after a few days, I realized, something took the invitation and come home with me. One incident that wasn't too long ago, my girlfriend come over with me, and I explained to her everything that was going on. And she put a card, I'm not quite sure if it was a birthday or a Christmas card that she had received on my TV. And right before we was going to pass out, it sounded like if the car was to just fall off, you would just hear the paper move and it hit the floor. But it sounded as if something made connection with the paper to knock it off. Knock the card off the TV. And she told me she's scared to even come back and stay the night in the room now. I believe whatever I brought home likes to play with the electronics. We walked in the room and turned the DVD player off and realized that's what was playing the music. And my grandma asked to unplug the DVD player and to take the CD out of it. And we realized there was nothing in the DVD player. There was no disc at all whatsoever, CD or DVD. It was empty. So there's really no way of it playing any music at all whatsoever.
We were sitting down, and I was explaining to him, I said, has anything else weird been going on? And he explained like the DVD player turning on whenever it's unplugged, which is a little crazy. The TV coming on the same way, and they'll try to turn it off and it just wants to keep turning on. And I explained to him what's been going on with me, and we think it's kind of related to that graveyard, that something actually come home with us. They didn't show themselves at first, but after a while they finally come home with us.
Sometimes when we use the recorder, we run into problems to where when we leave the recorder by itself, it turns itself on and off. It stops the recording before we get back, and you can hear the recorder being moved around when nobody's in the room with the recorder. And I thought it may have been the Vox on it that is voice activated, and we realized that that was off. And then I thought, even if it was the Vox, I had the recorder setting next to a fish tank with a running fish pump that is plenty enough to keep it on. So I tested it and put it on Vox. And I set it next to the fish tank and left the room and come back and listened, and that fish tank was plenty enough vibration right next to it to keep the recording going. The time that it cut itself off, it was sitting right next to the fish tank.
And then he got fed up with that. So he went back in the room. He said, look, whoever's in here, don't mess with the recorder. Just, if you have something to say it. And then we're going to leave the room and we're going to come back. So we went into the room, put the recorder down, said that, shut the door, come back, and then went back in there. Well, We were all there. We know my brother didn't say anything, and I didn't say anything, and James didn't say anything. And we played it back. Before my brother starts speaking, you hear clear as day. It's not faded away, nothing, it's clear. It says, "Leave me alone." Leave me alone. Leave me alone. And that's when I decided to call the ghost tours out of New Orleans, because I was clueless about what was going on. And I'm like, there's something here. After hearing the "Leave me alone" one, I said, something obviously doesn't want us here. And we got to figure out what's going on. And after a while, we kind of figured out, it's probably because my brother said, okay, you can come onwards from the graveyard. So that's probably what it was.
In Slidell, basically what you have is somebody who's desperate to believe and went about it the wrong way. In Slidell, the person had apparently gone to a cemetery, brought home things from the cemetery, and basically invited a lot of negative energy back to their house deliberately in an effort to see what would happen. They got results.
Stay tuned for more Haunted New Orleans.
People often will dare spirits and dare ghosts because A, they believe that there's something out there, but B, they believe that they could be in control of it or that nothing would really happen. Many times something will happen. If you poke a spirit, it will poke back. The young man that I met in Slidell definitely had a rider being a spirit that's become attached to him, that is not friendly to him or to his enterprises. When I met him, he said that he had the flu. I don't think he necessarily had the flu. I think that the spirit was making him ill. So I used an athame, a knife, to cut the spirits from around him. I burned a very potent exorcism incense to completely try to cleanse the area. In this case, unlike simple sage, I didn't want the two to be able to peacefully coexist. I burned the exorcism incense to get the spirit off of him and send it back to where it came from. Instead of sage in this instance, I burned sweetgrass, which is very healing and very sends a lot of positive energy into the body. The myth versus the reality of getting rid of spirits is simply that most of the time you're not going to be able to get rid of them. If you invite something very negative in, if you have the right kind of practitioner, you can cleanse it, send it on its way. But if your house is haunted, the best thing that you can do is try to peacefully coexist with the spirits, understand what kind of spirits that you have, understand their attitudes and their personalities, and don't let it dominate your life.
When the paranormal team first came out and Phillip came with them, I called them because my mother was having a lot of problems. And we were trying to find out what was going on and if we could get some relief for her.
In Patsy's home up there in a bedroom at night, and they started building, it felt a lot of heat at the foot of the bed. There was this real burning. I had to draw my feet up or keep them out of the heat line. And that's been going on ever since I've been here, and that's over a year.
I did feel the heat. I believe that maybe because they're working on, spirits are a type of energy, that they can interact with other energies, which is why sometimes it gets colder or sometimes it gets warmer. And in this instance, instead of it being cold, I felt warmth.
When I got up to go to the bathroom, and I was getting back into my bed, had started to get back into my bed, a little girl appeared right at the foot of my bed, standing up by the bed, and she had her hand out like this, and slowly pushed it to me, and I said, I don't want that. And she disappeared. Sometimes I wake up during the night. I do a lot of times wake up, and I look around and you see all these, I see people in the room. I can tell you how they're dressed and everything. Sometimes it's ladies with them, and occasionally there was 3 like men. That's what I was seeing. This could be something that they never bothered anybody, never bothered at all, but they went at the foot of the bed where the heat was going on. And I've seen that from time to time. The room sometimes would be real full.
The reason I believe that small children and that old people, extremely old people, especially if they're ill, are more aware of spiritual activity than, say, someone in their 20s or their 30s is simply because if they're really young, they just got here from the other side, and if they're extremely old and ill, they have one foot in the other side. So their perceptions are very different than, say, somebody who's 34. The cleansing that I did was I sprayed some rum, I used sage, and I sprinkled some salt in a ritual to cleanse the space. Most of the time, a lot of time, it's not going to get rid of the spirits, but it does make the people who live there feel more comfortable.
And I was having a lot of knocking of furniture before that time, and all of that got a lot better, a lot better. It almost stopped completely. Every once in a while now, that's been since the spring or early summer, every once in a while now I will get some knocking sounds on the furniture.
Probably, I don't think that it necessarily gets rid of the spirits. What it does is it grounds the energy in the house so that the living and the dead that are coexisting there, for lack of a better word, get along better.
This is Haunted New Orleans. You're watching Haunted New Orleans.
I would not urge a person to just walk around the house sprinkling salt. If you don't know what you're doing, don't do it. Most of the time what you're going to do is probably rile up the spirits. So if you've been having trouble with not being able to find your car keys or hearing people walk around in your house, it's just going to get worse. You do need to bring in a professional who understands what's going on and can ground them out. Or if it's something that's not indigenous to the place that you brought home, hopefully, and like I said, it does not always work, but cleanse them off of you.